DineshD'Souza is our guest. A new movie coming out, Obama 2016. It's a look at what America will look like at the end of Obama's second term, if, God forbid, we're stuck with that. Dinesh, thanks for being our guest, my man.
Hey, good to be on the show.
What an amazing history. What an amazing history. I see that your family's originally from Goa, which means you must have some sort of musical inclination.
I wish I did. I do play one instrument, though, the radio.
What is that?
The radio.
Oh, yeah, there you go. All right. My wife is from Hyderabad, India, so we've been to many a concert by Goans. Your book, The Roots of Obama's Rage, bestseller, and really opened the door to a conversation about who is this guy? What was most shocking to you in doing the research and writing that book about Barack Obama?
Well, you know, there's this sort of birther movement that suspects that Obama, wasn't born in America and so on, and so I looked into that a little bit, and I realized, you know what, the circumstantial evidence is really strong that Obama was born in America. But here's why those guys remain suspicious. And the reason they remain suspicious is because there does seem to be something foreign, something not American about Obama. And so as I dug into this, I realized that they're right. They're not right about where he was born, but they're right that he has embraced a kind of anti-American third world ideology, and that's anti-colonialism. You mentioned Goa, part of India. Goa used to be a colony of the Portuguese. Mm-hmm. India was ruled by the British. Obama's father grew up in Kenya when Kenya was fighting for independence from the British. So Obama, and by the way, Obama's written a book about this, right? His autobiography, Dreams from My Father. It's all about how he, in a sense, absorbed his father's spirit and his father's identity. And so I think that once you plug in this anti-colonial idea, it helps to round out the picture of Obama. It helps to explain things that he's doing that otherwise can't be explained.
Dinesh, let me quote to you a line from a piece you wrote for Forbes magazine. You say, our president, of course, speaking of Obama, is trapped in his father's time machine. Incredibly, the U.S. is being ruled according to the dreams of a Luau tribesman of the 1950s, or Kenyan tribesman. This philandering, inebriated African socialist who raged against the world for denying him the realization of his anti-colonial ambitions is now setting the nation's agenda through the reincarnation of his dreams in his son. The son makes it happen, but he candidly admits he is only living out his father's dream. The invisible father provides the inspiration, and the son dutifully gets the job done. America today is governed by a ghost. How does Barack Obama, how does he know? I mean, when you say that he's living out what his father wanted, his father's frustrated ambitions, how is he aware of that when he didn't spend time with him?
Well, for two reasons. One is there's a whole literature, by the way, in psychology about absentee fathers and their effects on kids. Now, an absentee father can affect a kid in two ways. The kid can rebel against the father and go, that horrible guy, he betrayed me, he left when I was 1 year old. And a lot of inner city kids, for example, have, built-in resentment against the fathers that never stuck around. That's one story. Here's the other story. During World War II, there were hundreds of thousands of American kids whose dads were away fighting in World War II. And these are kids that often grew up without having their father there. But they idolized the absentee father. Why? Because the mom put a picture of the dad on the mantle. Your dad's a hero. He's fighting for freedom. He's out there defending Western civilization and so on. So these kids grew up idolizing the dad who wasn't there. Well, this second story is Obama's story. His mom worshipped his father, and the mom is the one who cultivated in Obama this mythic image. Your father's like Mandela. He's like Gandhi. He's out there fighting for freedom against the evil white man and so on. So Obama grew up thinking this. Later he realized his father had a lot of flaws. And there's a culminating scene where Obama goes to his father's grave, and he flings himself on the ground. He weeps. I'm quoting him now. He goes, "Through Africa's red soil, I spoke to my father." Now his father's dead,
Right.
And so, but Obama does something that's kind of interesting and creative. He makes a split. He says, all right, I'm not going to be like my father in personality, but I am going to take my father's dream. my father may have been a flawed man, but he had wonderful and noble ideas, and I'm going to make those ideas my own. Where he failed, I'm going to succeed. So Obama obsessively researched his father, and his father was was a public figure. I mean, he was a senior economist with the government of Kenya. He wrote articles. His ideas are well known. So Obama had a dream, right? It would be like saying, I'm not going to be like my dad, Martin Luther King, but I'm going to take his dream. We all know what the dream is. And that's what Obama did. He took his father's anti-colonial dream and ran with it.
All right. Coming up in the next segment, Dinesh D'Souza is the author of the book, The Roots of Obama's Rage. He's going to reach an even bigger audience with a new movie, 2016, Obama's America. It is a star-studded cast, or it is a star-studded group. The producer of this movie, Gerald Molen, we're going to talk about that. The film is shot on location in Kenya, Indonesia, India, the UK, and, of course, the United States. My hope is that this movie is really going to wake people up on how little we know him. It's titled Love Him, Hate Him, You Don't Know Him. Almost every hour of both of our shows, 5 hours a day between now and June 7th, we will be giving away a pair of tickets to see Dinesh D'Souza's new movie. I'm a big believer. We are hosting the movie here in Houston. It is 2016 Obama's America. Dinesh, tell us a little bit about this movie and how it came together. First of all, Gerald Molen, I mean, you brought in the best to be the producer here.
Well, here's the thing. There are a lot of these documentaries are made, and sometimes they're made kind of crudely, and they often never reach the theaters. They're distributed, as fundraisers, or you just order them online. So I didn't want to make that kind of film. I thought, look, this is a very big election, and I remembered, of course, Michael Moore and Fahrenheit 9/11 in the 2004 election. And I don't want to be Michael Moore for sure, but I thought, look, that was an interesting movie. It had a big impact, and I want to make a film that has a similar impact. So I was lucky to find Molen. Molen is a partner of Steven Spielberg. He's been a kind of a closet conservative, and he made movies like Jurassic Park and Minority Report. So I sent him my book, and he read it. He really loved it. And he said to me, I've been a little disturbed about the way that Hollywood has been going. He says, when I was a young man, he said, Hollywood was, you could be a liberal, you could be a conservative. Of course, lots of actors in those days, Reagan included, were conservatives. He said then Hollywood kind of went liberal, but still you could have a different point of view. You were tolerated. It was okay. But he goes, now under Obama, there's such a narrow feeling that if you oppose him in any way, you're just the bad guy. That you've got to be pushed out. You've got to be shunned. And, here, the good thing with Molen is he's a guy who's already made it. He's well established. So in a way, he doesn't care. So he's like, okay, it's really important for a guy like me. He goes, I like this. I think this is a debate that needs to happen. So he partnered with me to get this film done. And as a result, the doors are opening and getting the right theaters, the right distribution, and it'll be a very high-quality film.
The film is shot on location in Kenya, Indonesia, India, UK, United States. What was the reception, for instance, in Kenya? I know you spoke to one of the president's brothers, George Obama. What was your reception when they realized what you were doing there?
Well, George is the youngest brother. Barack Obama Sr. had, as far as we know, 8 kids from 4 different wives. He was a polygamist. He had often more than one wife at a time. And George has been a little bit of the black sheep of the family. He doesn't sort of toe the Obama family line, so to speak. And he's a little skeptical of Barack because he kind of knows, he hears the president talk about, we are our brother's keeper and so on. But he actually looks at Obama's life and he realizes that Obama does nothing to help a lot of people who are near him, who are badly in need. So there's a kind of deep hypocrisy here, and George is kind of on to him. And Obama knows this. So they've cut off George. George is like the bad guy. So once they found out, the family did, that we had talked to George, we actually showed up at the Obama homestead, and we were welcomed by Obama's grandmother. We all got served Cokes. We're sitting around there. There's Obama's family house. Right there is Obama's father's grave and his grandfather's grave. And we were hoping to do some filming at the family homestead, but their family is having George Obama followed. They're having him spied on. So they knew that we had talked to George, and they're like, oh, no, well, we can't give you an interview because you spoke to the big bad George Obama. And so anyway, this is all amazing inside Obama family politics. None of this, of course, is ever reported. We have no sense in the media of what's going on, but there's a lot of behind the scenes going on with Obama.
There's been so little actually exposed about who this man is. I mean, here we are, he's almost at the end of his first term, and we're finding out about this white girlfriend that it turns out was a composite in his book, which means nobody ever read his book. What do you want? What is the prevailing sense you want people to get after they see this movie?
You know, one of the advantages in making the film, of course, is that we're telling a story that hasn't been told. Now, it hasn't been told due to the just gross negligence of people who should be telling it, people in the press who are, in a way, they're so eager to have this guy protected and reelected that not only will they not cover information, but if there's embarrassing information, they'll try to suppress it or explain it away. And now, you mentioned, the girlfriends. I mean, what's interesting is, Obama tells Vanity Fair, well, it wasn't, a single girl. There were actually a whole bunch of girls, and I made a composite of them. Now, think about this. You have all these girlfriends, supposedly, and none of them have come forward. We don't know any of their names. We don't know what Obama made up and what he didn't. Now, this is really odd. I mean, we don't know his grades at Columbia. We don't know his LSAT scores to get to law school. We don't know if he passed the bar exam and what his grades were there. We don't know people who knew him in class when he lived in New York or who roomed with him. So what's kind of odd is that you've got all this personal mystery surrounding Obama, but what the film focuses on is the ideological mystery of Obama. In other words, what's his inner compass? What's driving him? If we're going to ask what will America look like in 2016, if you don't know a guy's compass, then it's impossible to predict where they're going to go. And all presidents only, in a way, they only emerge in the second term, right? In the first term, they're tethered to public opinion. They need to be reelected, so their actions are going to be somewhat tactical. I would argue that we still haven't seen the real Obama. If he's reelected, that's when we'll see him.
Dinesh D'Souza is our guest. The movie is 2016 Obama's America. In about 10 minutes, we're going to start giving away tickets, and we'll do that every day through June 7th. We'll tell you all about that. There'll be the premiere just for Michael Berry Show listeners in Houston on June 7th, and then on June 8th will be the big opening. I think it's 5 studios, and we'll get you all the details on that. What was your greatest obstacle in making this film?
Well, I think our greatest obstacle was finding the right producer and director, because Hollywood is a very inhospitable place. I didn't want to go to a guy, find a former conservative ad guy who could be dismissed as a hack for the Republican Party. I wanted to find a credible producer, a credible director, and this is also new territory for me, right? I worked in the Reagan White House years ago as a young policy analyst. I've been at the Hoover Institution at Stanford. I'm now the president of a college, but I'm not a movie maker. So this was new territory, and so financing the film, getting investors to put money in, making the film, and then I'm also the narrator of the film. So I'm sort of playing, hopefully, a more intelligent version of Michael Moore in this film. So this was all, I was moving outside my normal comfort zone. But that being said, what excites me about the film is the opportunity to reach a wide audience that a book normally won't reach.
Why do you think it has been the case that there have not been more sort of conservative films made like this when the liberals have had such success? Michael Moore is not only, nobody goes to see them, but they make a lot of money. And in fact, Inconvenient Truth apparently made money.
Yeah, you're beginning to see that change a little bit, but I think there are certain fields, and this is a little bit of a conservative embarrassment, and that is whole fields like academia, elite academia, mainstream media, Hollywood, have become dominated by the left. And I don't mean dominated 60-40. I mean dominated 99-1. And what that means is once you allow that kind of a concentration, then the people who are in block new people from coming in. So today when young guys go into filmmaking, the message is really clear to them. Hey, buddy, if you want to win an Oscar, don't make a film about the evils of communism. Make a different kind of film, let's say about the evils of homophobia or whatever. So the young people get the message real quick that if I'm going to succeed in the media, if I'm going to get tenure as an academic at Princeton, if I'm going to want to advance in Hollywood, this is the tune that I need to play. And so right from the beginning, there's a kind of shaping influence on the culture, and conservatives are shut out.
Dinesh D'Souza will be our guest at the movie premiere on June 7th, and after the film, he'll take your questions. I'll moderate. I'll tell you all about how to start winning tickets coming up in a matter of minutes. Dinesh, thanks, and we look forward to hosting you here in Houston.
Looking forward to it.
Stay tuned for more details on that.
Very honest, very local. Michael Berry.